The coffee maker gurgled in the background as my wife Rebecca stood by the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone with unusual intensity. 7 years of marriage had taught me to read her moods like weather patterns, and something felt off that Tuesday morning. "So, I was thinking," she said, her voice carrying that carefully casual tone people use when they've rehearsed something. "The girls want to do a weekend getaway next month. You know, just a chance to decompress. Things have been so stressful at work." I looked up from my laptop. The girls meant her college friends, Vanessa and Nicole. They'd been close since their sorority days, meeting up a few times a year for brunches and wine nights. "Where were you thinking?" I asked, returning my attention to the quarterly report I was reviewing. "Probably Asheville. There's this spa resort Vanessa found. Very reasonable rates for a 3-day weekend." She poured herself another cup of coffee, her third that morning. "You don't mind, do you? I know it's close to your work conference, but we'd be back before you leave." "Of course not. You deserve a break." I meant it. Rebecca had been working late for months, taking on extra projects after her company announced restructuring. The tension in her shoulders had become permanent, and the circles under her eyes had deepened. A spa weekend sounded exactly like what she needed. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Thanks for understanding. I'll book it today." The weeks that followed seemed normal enough. Rebecca threw herself into planning the trip with an enthusiasm I hadn't seen in months. She bought new workout clothes, got her hair colored, and started going to the gym regularly. I was glad to see her excited about something. Getting in shape for all that spa lounging. I teased one evening as she modeled a new sundress. "Just want to feel good about myself," she replied, twirling once before heading back to the bedroom. "Is that so wrong?" It wasn't wrong at all. If anything, I felt guilty that I hadn't noticed how much she'd been struggling. I'd been buried in my own work, traveling twice a month for client meetings, barely present even when I was home. This trip felt like something she'd earned. The night before she left, I helped her pack. She laid out outfits on the bed, casual clothes, hiking boots, that new sundress. Everything seemed appropriate for a weekend of relaxation and outdoor activities. "Don't forget your allergy medication," I reminded her, tucking the bottle into her toiletry bag. "Already packed it." She zipped up her suitcase with a decisive motion. "I should be back Sunday evening. Monday at the latest if we decide to stay for one more yoga session. Just text me when you get there safe." "I will." She kissed me, and for a moment, she seemed to hesitate, her eyes searching my face for something. Then the moment passed, and she pulled away. "I love you." "Love you too." I woke up Friday morning to an empty bed and a text message. "Made it. Resort is beautiful. Talk later." Attached was a photo of a mountain view that could have been taken anywhere. I sent back a thumbs up and went about my day. Saturday afternoon, I called her. The phone rang 4 times before going to voicemail. "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're having fun. Love you." She texted back an hour later, "In a massage. Call you tonight." But she didn't call that night. Or Sunday morning. By Sunday afternoon, I was starting to feel a faint prickle of concern, though I couldn't articulate why. She was with friends, having a good time. She was allowed to disconnect. Then Sunday evening, my phone buzzed with a call from Vanessa. "Hey, is Rebecca with you?" she asked, her voice confused. My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "She's with you in Asheville." There was a long, terrible pause. "We're not in Asheville," Vanessa said slowly. "We're not anywhere. Rebecca cancelled on the trip 3 weeks ago. She said you two were going to do something together instead." The world tilted sideways. I sat down heavily on the couch, my mind racing through the past month, re-examining every detail, every smile, every carefully casual comment. "I need to go," I managed to say, ending the call. My wife wasn't at a spa resort with her friends. She was somewhere else. With someone else. And she had lied about all of it. I sat on the couch for 20 minutes, phone in hand, trying to make sense of what Vanessa had just told me. The logical part of my brain kept insisting there must be an explanation, a miscommunication, a last-minute change of plans. But the knot in my stomach knew better. I opened our shared banking app, something I rarely checked since we'd always maintained financial transparency. The recent transactions loaded, and there it was, a hotel charge from 2 days ago. The Grand Vista Resort, not in Asheville, but in Charleston, South Carolina. $437 for 2 nights. My hands were shaking as I clicked through more transactions. Dinner at an upscale steakhouse, $83. Another restaurant the next night, $96. 2 tickets to a harbor cruise, $120. Each charge felt like a physical blow. I called Rebecca. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same result. I sent a text. We need to talk. Call me now. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, everything okay? Still at the resort, service is spotty. My jaw clenched. She was still lying, even now. I typed back, funny, because Vanessa just called asking where you were. She said you cancelled weeks ago. This time, the dots didn't appear. 5 minutes passed. 10. My phone remained silent. I grabbed my laptop and opened Facebook, something I hadn't done in months. Rebecca's profile was mostly private, but I could see tagged photos. I scrolled through recent posts, finding nothing unusual until I reached a picture from 3 months ago. Rebecca at someone's birthday party. She was laughing, her head tilted toward a man I didn't recognize. His arm wasn't quite around her waist, but the proximity felt intimate. The comfort level between them was palpable. I clicked on his profile. Derek Hammond. Works at High Point Marketing, the same company where Rebecca had been spending all those late nights. His relationship status was listed as single. My phone finally rang. Rebecca. Let me explain, she said immediately, her voice tight with panic. I'm listening. My own voice sounded foreign, cold, and distant. It's not what you think. Derek is just a colleague. We had to go to Charleston for a work conference. I knew you'd be weird about it, so I simplified things. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. How many times had she rehearsed this explanation? A work conference, I repeated flatly. That required you to stay in a romantic resort hotel, take sunset cruises, and eat at expensive restaurants. That's quite a conference. Silence. And you needed to tell Vanessa we were spending the weekend together because... I don't know. Her voice cracked. I panicked. I knew she'd tell you about the trip, and I'd already committed to going to Charleston, and everything spiraled. How long? The question came out as barely a whisper. How long what? How long have you been sleeping with him? We haven't, she stopped, and I could hear her breathing, rapid and shallow. Nothing physical has happened. I swear to you. We're just friends. Close friends. Friends don't lie to their spouses about romantic weekends in Charleston. Friends don't share hotel rooms. We have separate rooms, she protested. Look, I know this looks bad, but you're jumping to conclusions. Derek is going through a divorce, and I've been helping him through it. This weekend was supposed to be about helping him clear his head, and yes, I knew you wouldn't understand, so I made a mistake in how I handled it. I almost wanted to believe her. 7 years of trust was screaming at me to give her the benefit of the doubt. But my instincts were louder. Send me a picture of your hotel room right now. What? You heard me. Take a photo of your hotel room and send it to me right now. Another pause. My phone's almost dead. The charger isn't working properly. Then go down to the lobby and use the hotel phone to call me back. I'll wait. You're being ridiculous. I'm not going to. Then I'm done with this conversation. I hung up. My phone immediately started ringing again. I declined the call. It rang again. I turned it off entirely. I spent the next hour going through everything. Her emails, her text messages, our phone records. She'd been careful, deleting most conversations, but there were fragments. A text from Derek at 2 in the morning 3 weeks ago. Can't stop thinking about tonight. Her response, me neither. But we can't. A text from Nicole, Rebecca's friend, are you sure about this? What if he finds out? Rebecca's reply, he won't. And even if he does, I need this. I need to know if this is real. That message was from a month ago. A month during which she'd come home every night, kissed me, asked about my day, made love to me twice, and planned our summer vacation to visit my parents. The betrayal was so complete, so calculated, that I felt physically ill. I turned my phone back on to find 17 missed calls from Rebecca and a string of increasingly frantic texts. The last one read, please. I'm coming home. We'll talk about everything face to face. I'll be there by midnight. I love you. Please don't do anything until we talk. I looked around our living room, the framed photos of our wedding, the bookshelf we'd built together, the couch where we'd spent countless evenings watching movies and planning our future. 7 years of shared life, and I suddenly had no idea which parts had been real and which had been performance. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Vanessa. I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was lying to both of us. If you need to talk, I'm here. I realized then that Rebecca had been willing to damage her oldest friendships to maintain this deception. Whatever was happening with Derek, it wasn't just an emotional affair that had gone too far. This was something she'd consciously chosen, something she'd protected at all costs. The clock on the wall showed 9:30. 2.5 hours until she arrived home. I stood up and walked to our bedroom, opening her nightstand drawer. In the back, beneath old receipts and expired coupons, I found what I was looking for, a small gift box I'd never seen before. Inside was a silver bracelet with an inscription, to new beginnings. D. I placed the bracelet back exactly where I'd found it and closed the drawer. Some part of me wanted to throw it across the room, to smash something, to externalize the chaos tearing through my chest. Instead, I walked to the kitchen and made myself a sandwich I had no intention of eating. The drive from Charleston to our home in Raleigh took roughly 3 hours. Rebecca would be pushing the speed limit, her mind racing through explanations and justifications, calibrating her story to match whatever she thought I'd discovered. I wondered if she was calling Derek right now, coordinating their version of events. I wasn't angry yet. That would come later. What I felt was a profound sense of displacement, as if I'd woken up in a parallel universe where everything looked the same but operated on different fundamental rules. At 11:40, I heard her car pull into the driveway. The engine cut off. A long pause. She was sitting out there, gathering herself. Finally, the car door opened and closed. Her key turned in the lock. Rebecca stepped inside looking simultaneously defiant and terrified. Her eyes were red, makeup smudged. She'd been crying during the drive. She set down her suitcase and stood in the entryway, waiting for me to speak first. How was Charleston? I asked, my voice neutral. She flinched. We need to talk. That's what you said. I'm listening. She moved to the couch but didn't sit. Instead, she paced, wringing her hands. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. I handled this terribly. But I need you to understand that nothing physical has happened between Derek and me. The bracelet in your nightstand says otherwise. Her face went pale. You went through my things. You lied to me for weeks. Maybe months. I think my right to privacy concerns expired along with my ability to trust anything you say. She sat down heavily, covering her face with her hands. When she looked up, there were fresh tears. The bracelet was just a gift. A friendship gift. Derek gives gifts to everyone. Inscribed with to new beginnings. His divorce just finalized. New beginnings for him. It wasn't about us. I leaned forward. Then why hide it? Because I knew you'd misinterpret it. Just like you're misinterpreting everything right now. Then help me interpret it correctly. Explain to me why you told Vanessa we were spending the weekend together. Explain the late-night texts. Explain why you needed to go to Charleston with a recently divorced man and lie about it to everyone in your life. Rebecca's jaw tightened. You want the truth. Fine. Derek makes me feel seen. He listens when I talk. He remembers things I tell him. When was the last time you asked me about my day and actually listened to the answer? When was the last time we had a real conversation that wasn't about bills or schedules? So this is my fault. No. She stood up again, her frustration boiling over. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying our marriage has been on autopilot for 2 years, and I've been lonely, and Derek was there, and yes, maybe I developed feelings I shouldn't have. But I never acted on them. This weekend was about getting clarity, about figuring out what I want. And did you figure out what you want? She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. That honesty, finally, cut deeper than all the lies. She didn't know. Which meant she was still considering it. Still weighing me against him, our marriage against whatever fantasy she'd been building. Did you share a room? I asked. No. I told you, separate rooms. Show me your hotel receipt. What? You have a receipt from the hotel. Show it to me. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands, scrolling through her email. She turned the screen toward me. I leaned in to read it. 1 room. 1 king bed. 2 adults. Check-in Friday. Check-out Sunday. That's wrong, she said quickly. That's his receipt. Mine is on the company card. I can get it Monday. Rebecca. I'm telling you the truth. Show me a picture of your room. Any picture you took this weekend that shows your room number or key card or anything that proves you stayed in a separate room. She scrolled through her photo gallery, her movements growing more frantic. I could see the photos as she flipped through them. Beach sunsets, restaurant interiors, selfies with Derek making faces at the camera. No hotel room. No evidence of separate accommodations. I didn't take any pictures of the room. Why would I? Because most people take pictures when they travel. Especially to a beautiful resort. You're twisting everything. Her voice broke. You've already made up your mind. Nothing I say will matter. Then tell me something that will matter. Tell me something true. Just one thing, Rebecca. Give me one piece of truth in all of this. She met my eyes, and for a moment, I saw the woman I'd married, vulnerable, conflicted, scared. I've been unhappy, she whispered. For a long time. And I didn't know how to tell you because you seemed content, and I didn't want to be the one to break what we'd built. Derek didn't create these feelings. He just made me realize they existed. So instead of talking to me, your husband, you started an emotional affair with a coworker and lied about it for months. It's not an affair. What do you call it then? What do you call lying to your spouse, hiding gifts from another man, taking romantic weekend trips, and admitting you have feelings for him? She had no answer for that. I stood up. I need you to be honest with me about one thing. Did you sleep with him this weekend? No. Look me in the eye and tell me. She looked at me, her face a mask of desperate sincerity. I did not sleep with Derek this weekend. I swear on everything we've built together. I wanted to believe her. God, how I wanted to believe her. But trust isn't something you can will into existence, and once shattered, every word becomes suspect. I need time to think, I said. You can sleep in the guest room tonight. Please don't shut me out. We can work through this. Couples therapy, whatever you need. I don't want to lose you. Then you should have thought of that before you bought a plane ticket to Charleston. She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. Finally, she picked up her suitcase and walked toward the guest room, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I sat alone in the living room until dawn, my mind cycling through memories, looking for signs I'd missed, wondering how long I'd been living in a marriage that was already half dead without realizing it. Morning came without sleep. I'd spent the night on the couch, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every conversation, every late night at work, every time Rebecca had seemed distant and I'd attributed it to stress. The signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. At 7, I heard the guest room door open. Rebecca emerged wearing one of my old college t-shirts, her face puffy from crying. We stood in the kitchen in awkward silence as the coffee brewed. "I'm going to take a sick day," she said quietly. "I think we should talk more. Actually, I need you to go to work." She looked surprised. "Why?" "Because I need space to think. And because if you're serious about saving this marriage, you need to maintain normalcy. Calling in sick together would raise questions." What I didn't say, I wanted access to the house alone. I wanted time to dig deeper without her hovering, explaining away each new discovery. She nodded slowly. "Okay. But can we have dinner together tonight? Really talk?" "Maybe. I'll text you." After she left, I waited 30 minutes to make sure she wasn't coming back. Then I began my search in earnest. Her laptop was password protected, but I knew her passwords, or at least, I knew the pattern she used. Third try got me in. I opened her email and started reading. Most of it was mundane. Work correspondence, shopping confirmations, newsletters. But then I found a folder labeled travel that I'd never noticed before. Inside were flight confirmations and hotel reservations spanning back 6 months. Atlanta in July. Miami in September. Charleston last weekend. All of them booked for 1 room, 2 guests. All of them on weekends when she told me she was working late or visiting her sister in Charlotte or attending conferences. My hands were shaking as I clicked through them. 6 trips. 6 separate lies. This wasn't a recent development or a one-time mistake. This had been going on for half a year. I found another folder buried in her documents, private. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Rebecca and Derek at restaurants. On beaches. In hotel rooms making faces at the camera, his arm around her shoulders. One photo showed them in matching robes with champagne glasses. Another captured them kissing on a balcony at sunset. The date stamp on that photo, August 19th. My birthday weekend, when she'd supposedly been at a mandatory work retreat. I closed the laptop before I put my fist through it. My phone rang. "Vanessa. I hope I'm not calling too early," she said. "I just wanted to check on you. I've been up all night feeling terrible about this." "It's not your fault." I should have questioned it more when she said you two were spending the weekend together. Rebecca and I have been friends since freshman year. I should have sensed something was off. She paused. "Do you want to know what I know? About Derek?" "Yes." Rebecca started mentioning him around April. At first, it was just casual, new colleague, funny guy, good at his job. But then she started talking about him more and more. How he understood her. How he was going through this difficult divorce and she felt bad for him. Nicole and I started joking that she had a work crush, and she got really defensive about it. "When did the trips start?" "I don't know about trips. But I remember in July, she cancelled plans with us to help Derek move into his new apartment. She said it was just a friendly thing, that you were fine with it. We thought that was weird, but we trusted her." "Did she ever admit to having feelings for him?" Vanessa hesitated. "About 2 months ago, we were at happy hour, just the 3 of us girls. Rebecca had a few drinks and got emotional. She said she felt trapped in her life. That she loved you but wasn't in love with you anymore. That Derek made her feel young again, excited about possibilities." Another pause. Nicole asked her point blank if she was having an affair. Rebecca got really angry and said we didn't understand, that it was complicated. What does complicated mean? I think it means she didn't want to admit what she was doing. Look, I love Rebecca. She's been my best friend for 15 years. But what she's doing to you isn't right. Nicole and I talked about confronting her, maybe staging an intervention, but we didn't want to overstep. I appreciate you telling me this. There's one more thing. Last month, Rebecca asked me if I thought marriages could survive affairs. She framed it as a hypothetical, said she was reading an article about it. But now I think she was testing the waters, seeing what we'd say if it came out. After we hung up, I sat with that information. Rebecca had been planning her exit strategy, measuring the potential fallout, calculating whether she could have both, the security of our marriage and the excitement of Derek. I called Derek's number. I'd found it in Rebecca's phone records. He answered on the third ring. "This is Derek. This is Rebecca's husband. We need to talk." Silence. Then, "Listen, man, I don't want any trouble." "Then you should have thought about that before you started sleeping with my wife." "I'm not. We haven't. Look, Rebecca said you two were basically separated. That you hadn't been intimate in over a year. That you were staying together out of convenience." The lie was so absurd I almost laughed. We'd made love just 2 weeks ago. We'd discussed remodeling the bathroom last month. We'd booked our summer vacation to Oregon. We're not separated. We're married. Happily married, or so I thought until 48 hours ago. That's not what she told me. His voice had an edge now, defensive. She said the marriage was dead. That she was just waiting for the right time to tell you. And you believed that? Why wouldn't I? She's not wearing her ring when she's with me. She stays over at my place. We're planning, he stopped himself. Planning what? Nothing. Look, I don't know what game she's playing, but I'm not the villain here. Rebecca pursued me. She made it clear she wanted this. Did she tell you about our anniversary dinner last month? The one where she wore the red dress and we talked about trying for kids. Another long silence. I think we've both been lied to, I said. But here's the difference. You knew she was married. You made a choice. So did she. And now we're all paying for it. I hung up before he could respond. That evening, when Rebecca came home, I had printed out everything. The hotel receipts, the photos, the email trail. I'd organized it all in a folder on the coffee table. She saw it immediately and went pale. Sit down, I said. No more lies. No more excuses. Just truth. She Saturday. I talked to Derek today. Her eyes widened with panic. He says you told him we were separated. That our marriage was essentially over. He also mentioned you've been staying at his apartment and that you two are planning something. What are you planning, Rebecca? He misunderstood. Stop. My voice was harder than I'd ever heard it. I have photos of you kissing him. I have hotel records going back 6 months. I have your best friends telling me you asked them about surviving affairs. The only thing I don't have is a timeline of when you decided our marriage meant nothing to you. Tears streamed down her face, but I felt nothing. Empathy had been replaced by a cold, analytical distance. When were you going to tell me? I asked. Or were you just going to keep living this double life until I figured it out on my own? I didn't mean for any of this to happen. That's not an answer. She looked at the folder on the table, at the evidence of her betrayal laid out in neat, chronological order. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. I don't know. 3 words. That's all it took to confirm what I'd already known. She had never planned to tell me. She'd been living in both worlds, unwilling to give up either, hoping the decision would somehow make itself. 6 months, I said, sliding the printed timeline across the table. 6 months of hotel rooms and romantic dinners and weekend getaways while I was here, planning our future, trusting you completely. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? Rebecca stared at the papers, her hands trembling. I know I've hurt you. I know I've destroyed your trust. But I need you to understand, I never stopped loving you. It's just. Derek represents something different. Something I thought I'd lost. What? Excitement? Novelty? The thrill of sneaking around? No. He represents the person I used to be before I became half of us. Before every decision was a compromise, every dream filtered through the lens of marriage and mortgages and 5-year plans. She looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. I'm 33 years old, and I feel like I'm already settling into middle age. Derek made me feel alive again. So this is about a midlife crisis. Don't diminish what I'm feeling. Her voice rose, defensive. You have no idea what it's like to wake up every day and wonder if this is all there is. To love someone but feel like you're suffocating. To wonder if you married too young, committed too fast, gave up too much of yourself. Then you should have talked to me. We could have gone to therapy. We could have made changes. Instead, you started a relationship with another man and lied to me for half a year. I kept my voice level, refusing to match her emotion. And the worst part? You didn't even have the courage to end things with me. You wanted to keep both, the security of our marriage and the excitement of your affair. It wasn't like that. Yes, it was exactly like that. Derek told me you stay at his apartment. He thinks we're separated. Meanwhile, you're here in our bed, in our home, playing the role of devoted wife. Which version is the real you, Rebecca? Or are they both lies? She had no answer. The silence stretched between us, heavy with the weight of 7 years crumbling into dust. I talked to a lawyer today, I said finally. Her head snapped up. What? I'm not asking for your permission. I'm telling you as a courtesy. I've already started the process. No, we can fix this. Couples therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. I'll end things with Derek completely. I'll do anything. You've already done everything. That's the problem. I pulled out another document from my briefcase, the separation agreement the attorney had drafted. I'm not interested in counseling or second chances or slowly rebuilding trust while wondering if you're texting him when I'm not looking. I'm done. Please. She was crying openly now, her voice breaking. 7 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It meant everything to me. Past tense. I stood up. You can stay here tonight, but I'm going to a hotel. Tomorrow, we'll figure out the logistics. The house, the accounts, the division of assets. I want this over as quickly as possible. I made a mistake. No. I cut her off, my voice sharp. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is a drunken kiss at a party. What you did was calculated, deliberate, and sustained. You made a choice, Rebecca. Every single day for 6 months, you chose to betray me. You chose to lie to my face. You chose him over us, over me. Those weren't mistakes. Those were decisions. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Physical distance felt crucial now, like a barrier protecting what little remained of my sense of self. I do want to know one thing, I said. And I want the truth. Did you ever love me? Or was I always just a safe choice while you waited for something better to come along? Rebecca's face crumpled. I loved you. I do love you. That's what makes this so hard. I love you, but I'm not sure I'm in love with you anymore. And I don't know if I ever was in the way I should have been. There it was. The truth I'd been avoiding since Vanessa's phone call. Maybe longer than that. Maybe since the first time Rebecca looked at me with that distant expression, the one I'd mistaken for stress or fatigue but was actually disengagement. Thank you, I said, for finally being honest. What happens now? Now, you figure out what you really want. Not what's safe, not what's exciting, but what's real. And I start building a life that doesn't include someone who sees me as a fallback option. I picked up my overnight bag, I'd packed it while she was at work, and walked toward the door. I really did love you, she said behind me. For what it's worth. I paused at the threshold. The problem is, love was never the issue. Trust was. And you can't rebuild something that's been ground to dust. You can only sweep it away and start fresh. The door closed behind me with a soft click that sounded like an ending. 3 months later, I signed the final divorce papers in a conference room with bland corporate art and fluorescent lighting. Rebecca wasn't there. We'd opted for a mediated settlement rather than dragging things out in court. She'd already moved into Derek's apartment. According to mutual friends, they were planning a trip to Europe. I wondered if she'd tell him the truth about where she was going, or if she'd already started the cycle again. The small lies, the omissions, the compartmentalization of her life into versions that never quite aligned. Vanessa texted me that evening, "How are you holding up?" "Better than expected," I typed back, and it was true. The grief had been intense, Not just for the marriage I'd lost, but for the years I'd spent believing in something that had been eroding beneath the surface. But grief eventually gives way to clarity. I'd learned something crucial through the devastation. Trust isn't negotiable in a relationship. It's not something you can compromise on or partially restore. Once someone shows you they're willing to build an entire architecture of lies to protect their deception, once they demonstrate they'll look you in the eye and offer carefully constructed half-truths, you can never fully believe them again. Every word becomes suspect. Every explanation carries doubt. Rebecca wanted to come back after the truth came out. She sent emails, left voicemails, showed up at the house twice before I changed the locks. Each time, she promised she'd ended things with Derek, that she'd made a terrible mistake, that she wanted to fight for our marriage. But I couldn't unknow what I knew. I couldn't forget the photos of them kissing, the hotel receipts, the timeline of calculated deception. More than that, I couldn't forget that she'd asked if our marriage could survive an affair weeks before I found out about it. She'd been planning her contingencies, hedging her bets, trying to determine if she could have her cake and eat it too. That's what had hurt most in the end. Not the affair itself, but the cold calculus behind it. The way she'd weighed her options, manipulated circumstances, constructed elaborate lies, all while sleeping beside me and planning our future. That level of compartmentalization spoke to something fundamental about who she was, something I'd never truly seen until it was too late. I sold the house. Too many memories, too many rooms filled with ghost versions of us. I bought a smaller place across town, a condo with a view of the city lights, anonymous and new. I threw myself into work, reconnected with old friends, started running again. Some nights were harder than others. Sometimes I'd see a couple laughing at a restaurant and feel the absence of what I'd thought I had. Sometimes I'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there and remember all over again why the bed was empty. But mostly, I felt relief. Relief that I'd discovered the truth. Relief that I'd trusted my instincts when the story didn't add up. Relief that I'd had the strength to walk away rather than accepting breadcrumbs of affection from someone who'd shown me exactly how little I meant to them. A year after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Nicole at a coffee shop. We made small talk, awkward at first, then gradually easier. "How's Rebecca?" I asked, surprising myself with my own curiosity. Nicole's expression was complicated. She and Derek broke up about 4 months ago. Turns out he'd been seeing someone else the whole time they were together. I should have felt satisfaction at the karmic justice of it. Instead, I just felt tired. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you, though?" "Weirdly, yes. I don't wish her harm. I just wish she'd figured out who she was before she destroyed what we had." Nicole nodded. "For what it's worth, I think she knows she made a mistake. Not just with you, but in how she handled everything. She's in therapy now, working through her stuff." "Good. I hope it helps her. Do you think you'll ever forgive her?" I considered the question. I don't know if forgiveness is the right framework. What she did shaped me, made me more careful, more aware of red flags, less willing to ignore my instincts. I don't hate her. But I also don't forget. And I definitely don't trust. Walking back to my car, I thought about the person I'd been before that Sunday phone call from Vanessa. Naive, trusting, content in my ignorance. I couldn't be that person again, and I didn't want to be. That version of me had been too willing to accept surface explanations, too quick to trust, too slow to question. The new version was harder, sharper, less easily fooled. Maybe more cynical. Definitely more protective of my heart. But also more honest. More real. More willing to demand authenticity rather than accept comfortable illusions. Rebecca's lie had ended our marriage. But it had also freed me to find something better, not necessarily another relationship, but a relationship with myself built on truth rather than wishful thinking. Sometimes the worst betrayals teach us the most important lessons, that love without trust is just shared space. That someone can look you in the eye and lie convincingly. That you can't save a marriage when only one person is committed to it. And that walking away from someone who's shown you their true character isn't giving up. It's finally believing them.